Welcome to the Scandinavian Mind podcast, our weekly show about how technology is changing the creative industries. Today on the program, next level innovations at Vivatech. We report from Europe's biggest startup and tech event in Paris, where we will hear from Raphael Slama, commercial director at Frugger. Raphael Slama, commercial director at FruggrNathalie Seyler, head of Pärtel, co-founder of RaikuPascal, Melinaire, president of Sweetch Energy. We will talk about the major misconceptions regarding sustainable packaging, bio-printed skin, the rise of digital sustainability, and the hunt for the next renewable energy source. My name is Konrad Olsson, editor-in-chief and founder of Scandinavian Mind, and I'm here with my colleague Johan Magnusson. How are you, Johan?
Yeah, I'm very good. And what about you?
We're approaching vacation season in Sweden and in Scandinavian Mind, so we'll actually pause this podcast after this episode and we'll be back early August. We'll definitely do a shorter pause than we've ever done before because we have so much happening, not least the upcoming transformation conferences in Copenhagen during Copenhagen Fashion Week. But we still have so much content to publish also from this very packed spring season of events, I must say. And now we're heading to Paris this week. Why are we going to Paris?
I went to Europe's biggest tech and startup events a few weeks ago, and it was mesmerizing, and I'm looking forward to share the innovators in this episode.
Talk about Vivatech and kind of what it is, and you describe the vibe at this space. We cover tech events from Slush in Helsinki, Tech Arena in Stockholm, maybe some of the smaller ones, and all Global Fashion Agenda Copenhagen. It's not often that we go to Paris. Now we're there. Describe Vivatech for the listeners.
This was the 8th edition, and it was 13,500 startups present.
Right.
From 25 sectors. They had 2,000 investors and investments funds. They had 120 countries represented. They had 40 national pavilions, where the countries gather their most promising startups, and a very, very impressive speaker list. They had a keynote with Elon Musk. They had John Kerry. They had Venus and Serena Williams. They had Bernard Arnault presenting the winners of LVMH Innovation Prize. So it was intense 2 days in Paris.
Amazing. And how would you describe the kind of temperature on the ground, speaking to companies, investors, perhaps? Are people positive, optimistic about the future, or is there still kind of a caution in the marketplace?
You have to remember, it's like when you go to a fashion trade fair. The ones who are there might not be representative for the industry in itself, because it costs a lot of money and investment to be there. And as mentioned, the national pavilions, the ones the startups selected there, might not represent the entire ecosystem in that specific country. So perhaps a lot more optimism in Paris at Vivatech than in general.
Well, good stuff. We love a fair bit of optimism, and I feel like the just a number of attendees speaks to an optimistic view of the future. Okay, we're going to share 4 conversations with innovations that you have kind of caught your eye on the floor and in the midst of things. How do you go about choosing what to speak to and what to cover? Because feels like there's so much that could potentially go into an episode like this. I'm curious about sharing your process.
That's the good thing with the Vivatech, because it's obviously impossible to comprehend 13,500 startups in one place, but they do have descriptions at every booth, like a short description of course, sector and the unique selling point, and also the stage where they're at. So in this case, I was more keen on because you could cover really groundbreaking technologies, but it might hit market in 5 years. So I really wanted to meet established startups or scale-ups, which seems more relevant and still groundbreaking.
Good stuff. All right, let's get into it. First up is Raphael Slama. He's the commercial director of something called Frugger. Set this up for us.
I think it was a bit mind-blowing when we realized we had numbers, I think, a year ago or two, sharing how much electricity, energy, Netflix alone, our consumption of Netflix is producing or causing. And it's a rising topic. We actually, in the end of the summer, we're going to share an article with Kim Derks from L'Oreal. She's head of digital sustainability. And one of L'Oreal's partners in the case of digital sustainability is Frugger. And this is a growing topic where brands and ventures and organizations need to take care of their full supply chain in order to reduce emissions.
Good stuff. Let's get into it. Here's now Raphael Slama, commercial director at Frugger.
Awesome. So Frugger is essentially a software solution that enables companies to evaluate and act on the footprint of their digital and IT activities. So essentially, in the context of a L'Oreal or even an EDF, which is the stand we're at today, their entire operations relies on an ecosystem of hundreds of computers, data centers that consume a lot of energy, that have a very important footprint, and they also work on a daily basis of hundreds of applications spread across different verticals of their business. And so when you combine the entire footprint of all these different segments within IT and digital, essentially today at a global scale, if we were to amass all of our footprints for digital usage, whether it's looking at Netflix, using my phone, recharging my computer, that represents roughly 4% of all global emissions. And it's one of the industries that's accelerating at the fastest pace because a big part of the sustainability strategy of companies nowadays is to digitize their processes and essentially move to cloud a lot of processes that were done on paper or on other systems. And the result of that, more often than not, is a transfer of pollution rather than an actual decarbonization of their activities. So essentially what our platform enables our partners to do is that once they plug the different verticals of their IT on our system, they're able to analyze, for example, the environmental footprint of their website. So how much does each visit emit in terms of carbon emissions? What's the water and energy usage of each visit? We also measure what's called social impact on websites. So is the website accessible? Someone with a handicap or a predisposition, are they able to fully interpret the content on that website, whether it's image, video content? And we essentially give a dashboard to these clients that enables them to see these different metrics, the scores tied to these metrics, so that they can benchmark themselves against competitors, for example. And ultimately, we try to help them act on this footprint by giving them levers and recommendations to optimize the content of their web pages, optimize how they run their purchasing decision-making when it comes to their IT fleet or their data centers.
And digital sustainability, it's a rising issue. Mm-hmm. And what can you help, more specifically, your clients? What are your first steps when you start to work with them?
Sure. So there's a couple of things we'll do, right? So typically, if I were to approach a client tomorrow, the first thing I would try to do is understand what their maturity is with regards to digital sustainability. A lot of big companies today are still only starting to tackle digital sustainability, because when you look at, let's say, a mobility company or a car company, the biggest part of their footprint might not be their digital activities. So typically what they'll do is they'll tackle things by order of priority. So the first thing I try to do is gauge what their maturity is, both at the level of the stakeholders I'll be working with, but also at the level of the company. Once I gauge that, I try to determine, okay, does this company need to educate itself internally, and do they need to spread awareness around this topic before they can start acting on the topic? So that usually the first step is awareness, right? Then once there's awareness, the typical next step is evaluation. So starting to understand what footprint you can allocate to which segment of your IT or digital activities. And then what we do after that, right, is, again, depending on the maturity and depending on the desire of the client to be autonomous on some of these subjects, we'll either give them our SaaS platform, which they can onboard and use fully autonomously, or we offer also consultancy expertise to help them derive roadmaps, prioritize the action plan in terms of what they're going to do and what they're going to start, where they're going to start reducing the impact. These are typically the steps, right? First, sensitization and education, then awareness and evaluation, and then after that, strategy, decision-making, and action plan.
All right, that was Raphael Slama from Frugger. All right, next up is your kind of avenue, Johan. We're talking to Episkin, Seyler. We've covered Episkin before, but maybe just a few words about what this innovation is.
I think this is the most mind-blowing article I've published this year. It's online at scandinavianmind.com. And it's about bioprinting skin. And it seems like science fiction, but L'Oreal and their subsidiary Episkin, both of them have worked with this for many, many, many years. And they're getting there. It will be available. It's already available on a test scale, a pilot scale, and it will be available in only a few years. And it's just the perfect example of how biotech has and will revolutionize beauty.
How do you feel about it personally? What's your take on this innovation?
It's hard to grasp, but that's also why it has taken so long. Because they obviously it's a lot of ethical things to consider when you work with such topics, and it's also a global cooperation. So L'Oreal and Episkin are not doing this alone, but it's a global network of universities and startups and major companies working together, because L'Oreal also sell this technology to academia and interested startups in order to I think it's quite modern approach of it to work together in order to help burned people and reconstruct skin. And the major part here so far has obviously been to reconstruct skin for people suffering from accidents or such. But it could also it has also helped to replace animal testing, and that's a growing topic. Unfortunately, we thought we were away from it, except from China in the beauty industry. But now it's a growing topic again, and this could possibly help in the work of or reducing animal testing.
All right, let's hear it here now. Nathalie Seyler, head of Episkin.
Today I'm presenting Skin Technology by L'Oreal, which is about reconstructed human skin. We have been working a lot with hospitals because the technology is really the same as the one used to treat burn people through skin grafting. And now we are implementing this technology by adding pigmented cells, immune cells, and now we are using tech. It's going to help us to move forward and to do things that we were not able to do it manually. As for example, adding specifically on certain spots some cells as melanocytes to design dark spots, for example, or we could do some relief to really have invaginated epidermal junction that is really closely to human skin, the real human skin you have.
And you're talking about bioprinting skin. What does that mean?
Bioprinting skin means that we are going to be using technologies through mechanics, electronics assisted by computer in order to develop the biology of reconstructed skin. So we are going to use bio ink mixed with cells which will deposit on specific spaces in order to design more realistic human skin, including epidermis and dermis, that we were not able to do without this bioprinter.
And you also offered the technology to universities and other companies, so it's not only used by you.
Yeah, since we could say the creation of our skin technology, a reconstructed skin platform, we wanted to share this technology for the safety and the efficacy testing. So we sell it worldwide to universities, startups, industry, cosmetic companies, and we have 3 dedicated research centers to produce that in France, Brazil, and China.
And this is not science fiction. You will actually have it available for market in only a few years. What are the next steps?
The next step we want to develop is to focus also on pathological skin, because bioprint skin could help us to do pattern skin, meaning on one side we could bioprint healthy skin, and on the other side we could print pathological skin. We have already done that and published it in 2019 with atopic dermatitis, and we were able to reproduce a lesion of atopic dermatitis, a model to be used to screen treatments suitable for atopic patients.
That was Nathalie Seyler, head of Episkin. All right, next up we're traveling to Estonia, a very interesting region in kind of the Nordics, I would say. It's a region that keeps popping up on my radar, I'm sure yours as well, and I feel like it's a region we need to cover more extensively in the Scandinavian Mind. Can we include the Baltics in Scandinavia, do you think? Is there a way we can attach it to Scandinavia?
At least Finland and Estonia, they are very well connected. They're planning a tunnel between Helsinki and Tallinn, and it's a lot of cooperation between the two countries. So why not set up a transformation conference in Tallinn in 2026?
Let's do that. You met with a guy called Karl Pärtel. He's the co-founder of something called Raiku. Talk about this innovation.
It's a packaging innovation, and listeners to this podcast, they know that we have covered the Finnish forest quite vast throughout the years. But now Estonia is on the rise, and they also work with bio-based packaging innovations. And if you think of packaging, a more sustainable choice of packaging rather than plastic, what would you think of?
Paper.
Yeah, and that's what this interview is about. The major lobbying from this industry about paper packaging being a super sustainable solution, and it remains to be seen whether it is or not.
All right, let's hear it here now. Karl Pärtel, co-founder of Raiku.
I'm here representing Raiku Packaging. What we do is a 100% compostable and natural packaging material, which is really sustainable and clean production as well. For example, we use no chemicals in the process, almost no water, very low amounts of energy, and it's super efficient raw material use because we give 20 times more volume to the raw material. So we use wood, and we give 1 cubic meter of wood, we turn it into 20 cubic meters of end packaging. Yeah.
And according to you, the packaging industry is broken.
Yes, we believe so. That's why we've developed this compostable packaging, because people can't do it themselves, the recycling. At the moment, the big goal of European Union is to reach 70% of packaging recycling by 2030, which means that we will have this problem for decades. Just to give you like a number, that means that 30 million tons of packaging is not being recycled per year. Giza Pyramid weighs 6 million tons, by the way. So you need a compostable material.
How do you stand out compared to your competitors?
Yeah, there are a few unique things. Just to compare you with, and we think bubble wrap will be out anyway. It's the single-use plastics. But more importantly, it's about the paper industry that we're currently fighting with. We think it's like an oil company in the sector because it's done such a good lobby work with the sustainability, but people should actually know that it's one of the most resource-intensive industrial processes in the world. For example, in our country, it's the most energy-intensive industry. To make 1 ton of paper, you need 7 tons of chemicals, you need 100,000 liters of water, and massive amounts of energy. So don't believe what the paper industry is telling you. It's not sustainable. And we offer a much more sustainable solution, but it's also much more protective and in essence also more beautiful product. That's what the clients see basically at the moment.
And just for clarification, your country that you mentioned is Estonia, and you're currently working on your pilot plant, and you've conducted pilot projects with cosmetics companies. And what are your next steps?
Yeah, so we are moving quite fast. We are at the moment we're setting up the pilot factory, which will be set by the start of the next year. We're already producing the material and working with the market. We have clients all around Europe. We are, for example, also in the Louis Vuitton accelerator, which just shows how much potential is there, because only, I think, 2% of companies or applicants get in there. But also we've been supported by the EIC, which is the European Innovation Council, and we got around like 9 million deal from them because they see it as a strategic project for Europe.
That was Karl Pärtel, co-founder of Raiku. All right, next up, we do have a Frenchman, Pascal Le Melinaire. It took me 7 tries to read his name in the introduction before we got it right, and I had to convince you to stop laughing. But we do love a good Frenchman on the podcast. So he's the president of something called Sweetch Energy. Talk about this.
This is still in pilot scale. So I mentioned that I was very keen on finding startups who are already established, but this is an exception. They will have their first facility set up in France this year, which Pascal will mention in the interview. It's about osmotic energy, and of course, in Scandinavia, we're now looking into the next generation of nuclear power, and we have. In Scandinavia, we're also very, very lucky with the nature supplying us with a vast part of the energy, while in other parts of the world, that's not the case. And we have the most optimistic projections, which now foresee current renewables not exceeding 50% of the global electricity production by 2050, and that's kind of bad. While Pascal suggests that if you add osmotic energy to it, this share could increase to over 65%. Quite exciting.
I love this. And, we've been talking extensively about launching some kind of energy special project within Scandinavian Mind, because there's so many interesting innovations happening, particularly in the Nordics. It's very much adjacent to the topics that we cover usually, fashion design, mobility. Hopefully this is something we can deep dive into during 2025. So just a bit of a rocket in the sky for anyone who's interested in collaborating with us on that. Would love to talk more, because this is a subject that I love talking about. So, okay, let's hear it from Pascal from Sweetch Energy.
My name is Pascal. I'm one of the founders of Sweetch Energy, and we are developing a technology to produce electricity out of what we call salinity gradient, which is the energy that you can harvest when fresh water mixes into seawater. And this is a new kind of renewable energy to produce clean electricity. The main advantage of this source of electricity is that we can produce almost 100% of the time, because so long the river flows, we can produce independently of weather condition or day and night. And the industrial who are the most interested with this technology are so far the hydropower company, because this is a subject they know very well. At every river mouth on the river, there is a source of energy, what we call the osmotic energy, which is this mixing energy of two seawater and fresh water. And to give you an example, we're going to build this year a demonstrator in France, in the Rhône River, which is the largest river in France. Siena is a hydropower company in France. They manage 14 dams and they produce. This is the largest private producer of renewable electricity in France. And the potential of the osmotic energy is about 15% of the total production of the classical hydro power on the Rhône River. So it's an important subject for hydropower companies. Just in the Rhône River, there is a potential of 500 megawatts running 100% of the time. So we're talking about 4 gigawatt hour per year of energy. So this is important. And worldwide, if you look at the global potential of osmotic energy, we think the expert thinks that it can supply about 10% of the current production of electricity worldwide. Just to compare with hydropower, which is about 12%, nuclear, which is about 15%. This is in that range of potential for the future. And so we think osmotic energy has a great future to participate to a new mix of renewable energy in the future.
And what are your next steps? You mentioned on the Rhône River, and when will this happen, and when can we see the development of the technology?
Yeah, so the first demonstrator is for the end of this year, and we'll probably showcase the demonstrator mid-year or mid next year. And then the next step is really to do the scale-up. So we have a challenge of manufacturing, because there's a lot of components who are custom-made components that we need to manufacture ourselves, and also to partner with and to deploy the technology in different sites all over the world. But already we have a good traction in Asia, in North America. We have plenty of projects in the pipeline. The subject for us for the next 2 years is to make sure that we can deliver the product at high volume.
That was Pascal Le Melinaire, president of Sweetch Energy, interviewed by Johan Magnusson at Vivatech in Paris earlier this spring or pre-summer. All right, Johan, I think we are on our way to a well-deserved hiatus here at Scandinavian Mind. We are just now prepping the publishing schedule for July. There will be newsletters going out. There will be content online, so don't you worry about that. If you're in the hammock in need for stuff to consume, and we are, of course, very much focused now on the first transformation conference ever in Copenhagen. We'll be headed there on August 9 at Bella Center, SIF, for hosting the first transformation conference. I'm getting really excited. There's so much interest from the Danish community, and obviously we're very close to the brands exhibiting at SIF. Johan, what do you look forward to when it comes to Copenhagen?
It's a growing fashion week, and it makes complete sense to join SIF and the fashion week with our beloved conference format. So also super excited to join.
That's great. Invite is up now on ScandinavianMind.com, and don't forget to sign up to our newsletter. Visit ScandinavianMind.com/newsletter not to miss out on any of these invites in the future. So from all of us to all of you, wish you a great summer, and Johan, enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, likewise. Same to you.